Okay, what we're having is a debate and people that will be for and against. Okay?
Okay.
So what are we talking about?
We're going to talk about that we support free trade. And my name is Monse, and I'm Jamel. Well, we'll start.
So Oscar and Mauricio are going to be against free trade.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oscar and Mauricio are going to be against.
Well, against the surplus.
Against the fact that you need to get a surplus.
Yeah,
as-
we're against
sorry.
having surplus.
Okay.
Yeah, well, some of the benefits we put on the list, we made clear about some points. And as we saw on last classes, well, it increases competition and it creates new jobs. Also, that it helps our firms to be more competitive. And, for example, as we saw two sessions ago, it has made the Mexican economy more competitive than the so-called BRIC. Another thing that, well, we think it was important to say, it was that some countries can, well, if you can have high overall productivity, you will have high wages, and the countries with low overall productivity will have low wages. That's something important. One of the greatest benefits of free commerce, well, international commerce, is that the transmission of ideas. That's also very important. And as you can see on the graphic that you have on the paper, after, well, it is from 1976 to 85, and you can see that after 30 years, well, it points that the failure of highly protected import and substitution trade agreements and the success of world-oriented open trade agreements. You can see there where is Nigeria, where is Zambia, where is Ghana, and also where are the countries with most, well, that economies are more open, like Singapore, South Korea, Hong Kong. So that's it.
So also another important point was that, well, as having a surplus, which means that we have more exports, and we believe this is good, like for a lot of companies, for example, as in Mexico, like we need some, well, of course, every company needs like machinery, tools, equipment, and everything. So one way that companies and people and everybody could get like all these machinery, tools, and everything could be by importing and exporting, because by doing this we get a lot of like resources and capital inflows coming in. And for instance, if we wouldn't have this, we would be like a protective nation. So where would companies get this money from? Like, well, would they get all these like incomes and everything? Since they wouldn't be able to get it, like prices will increase, competitiveness will be worse, and we couldn't compete like with other products and everything. So like in the long term, they will lose, like people will lose jobs. So also, well, we believe that trade fosters technology, which is of course good, and this helps like for all the consumers to get better products at cheaper prices. And I mean, in the long term, it's good. You may think that it's bad for the local people, like as in our country, but you will see like in the long term, it's bad because our products and everything wouldn't be as efficient and as productive, and wouldn't have the technology and everything. And also another benefit is that trade improves wages, and as we can see now what's happening in China, like the labor the labor costs are increasing because like since people are having like more technology, they are more competitive, they have more skills, so it's we believe it's good for like the economy. And also just
about what you're saying about the jobs, it's also something that it's against. It's like, well, if you have an open free trade policy, then you're going to start losing jobs. And what we have to ask also, and we have to look for, it's not only the kind of numbers that we, well, the numbers of jobs that we have, but also the type of works that we want to have, and also that the standards of living from these jobs.
Yeah, and also by exporting, small companies could have the access to new markets, which it's good. I mean, not only big companies get benefit from this, so even also like small companies could get benefit as well. And well, another thing we find out.
Let me just ask you one question. One of the questions that we were putting in the class last time was the point that in order for trade to be good for the economy, you will have to have a surplus all the time. And that was really the point. Am I wrong, Oscar?
No.
Mauricio, that was the whole point, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you feel about that? I mean, do we really have to have, well, you're saying that yes, we need to have always a surplus. That was your point. Well, you have to defend that.
Well, we believe so because that means.
The problem is not what you believe. The problem is you have to defend the point.
Oh well, I think we have some benefits of like having more exports, which means that we will have more capital flows and more. So this is good for the like not just for the country, but I mean also like for all the people, because they will have. Like as we said before, like how would they be able to get the resources if they don't have like exports and anything like that, like by borrowing? So if they borrow, like I mean then.
Yeah, but part of the thing that we're doing at the course is teaching you also to debate points, okay? As I said at the beginning of the course, this is a debate seminar. You have to debate, you have to put positions and defend those positions, okay? Now sometimes you don't believe them, but this is exactly what's happening right now. But the point is, you are going to be asked from time to time to defend something. And if you don't believe in it, you can quit your job, okay? That's fine. But if you want to keep your job, you will have to defend it. And so you have to bring arguments to that in terms of the defense. So the question was, if you have always surplus, is that really what the country should be looking for? And the idea was that you would say yes, and say why. So you can put points like, well, yeah, because this is an economy that requires to have more income, and therefore we need that money to come into the country so that we can make investments. And many of those arguments are false. And you need to make the case so that your colleagues will have to debate with you and say why you are wrong or you're right. And then you'll have to learn to defend those points slowly but surely, because what's going to happen in your lives, whether you believe it or not, and believe me, here you have two guys who have been on both sides of the discussion. Okay, there's a very famous discussion in the United States, not about trade, but about monopoly power, when a guy defended the reason why all the big companies, the toy makers of cars, were really right when they say that they should not allow their distributors, or the dealers, to really allow those dealers to be selling more than one brand. And that's when the whole market, in the United States started opening. So the whole idea was, you're a dealer, you have a Ford Motor dealership, and you only can distribute Ford Motor cars. And in the United States, if you go now, you can see dealers who have different brands. They can distribute Toyota or Honda or whatever in the same dealership. Now that created a very different market structure in the United States. So the dealer association was for this type of situation, and the big producers of cars were against it because they wanted to keep control on their dealers, okay? There was a big discussion in the United States, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And one of the guys who was there was a professor of the University of Chicago, and he made a point why an open economy and all these things should be doing. Free trade means also competition inside your economy. So he went and said all these things. And of course, the ruling was made. The next year, we went back, to the Supreme Court for some details. And this guy who had defended the opening of the market was on the other side of the fence at that point. And he was defending the fact why they should not be allowing the dealers to do that. So the judge remembered him and asked him why last year he was making a point of opening and now he was defending non-opening the markets. And the guy simply answered, well, I'm being paid to make the points that will make sense within the framework of who I'm defending. The one who's going to be judging whether my points are good or bad is you, and so it's up on you to decide. But my role is to bring the points that will make one position or the other correct. Now, I don't like that, okay? But that's what you will be facing in life. Sometimes you're on one side or the other side, and you have to learn to make the debate interesting and try to make the points, okay? So let me allow now our two other guys.
Can I just
Sure.
last point?
Yes, absolutely.
Something that it comes to my mind that it really good helps us. That we have a lot of experts. It's that we as Mexico, we can, if we sell our products all around the world, then we have this image, right? So a lot of countries can be familiar with Mexican products. So well, in a long term, they will like you can right now buy something. I don't know, Puerto Rico, you can, well, I went to the United States and I found it there. I was like, well, this is like, I found this Mexican product, and that can happen. And also, if we are exporting all our products, then we are like more famous, and our image is better on the, well, for all the countries, and then we can attract foreign investment, and we already said why it's good to have foreign investment.
I agree with that.
Can I
Please.
give some examples of what, if I were defending what the young ladies were? First, if they are correct that salaries are improved, that the type of work is improved, that the economy becomes more flexible and efficient, this is obviously an attractive place. So you will not have a surplus. You will very likely have a trade deficit because foreigners will want to invest. That's called foreign savings that go into your country. And they will be investing, which allows you more rapid growth and all of the technological transfers which you mentioned and everything else. Free trade, particularly when you're the process of opening up, really and often will create a deficit. Now, there's two kinds of deficits one should look at. One is the trade, visible trade deficit, which in my view is absolutely immaterial today. And the other one is the current account deficit. Mexico, for example, gets a very large proportion of its export receipts from tourism. So when you talk about a trade, you're talking about service trades as well, where Mexico is one of the most efficient in the world, believe it or not. And so to leave that out, nevertheless, if Mexico has a deficit because of an opening, or any country has no, it is not a bad thing. It often will mean that foreigners find it a very attractive place to put their money, to invest. That is a defense, if you will. One.
Okay, thank you. Now,
Good morning. Maurice and I were going to talk about why trade balance surplus is not as good as we may think. A nation with a trade balance surplus means that actually the local consumers are consuming less than they're producing as a nation. So we must see the causes of this. Maybe it's because they don't have access, maybe it's because the infrastructure is not as good as to bring all the products we produce as a nation to all the regions in our country. And one of the goals, one of the ways to increase the standards of living of the people is getting them more products and services. And this is not happening, as we've seen in the last classes. We've seen many countries with trade surplus The only thing that has happened is the gap between the distribution is not distributed equally. Also, it makes the government to keep our currency low, so against the dollar, for example, so our products keep exporting, and we get some American products, for this example, at a higher price. So this is not actually helping our local people. Yes, the employment and the wages get higher, but this results in a lower level of consumption, and as I say, with higher prices, and this also imposes higher and sometimes unnecessary level of reserves on external currency, as he's gonna explain.
Well, the thing with this credit is it gives you normally big international reserves, and the best point to say that to have a high international reserves that to say is good is that they serve like insurance to to international crises, something like that. But that is actually not true, because having a big reserves also implies big fiscal costs and big opportunity costs. For example, the reserves are managed by the central bank. The central bank has to put the reserves in the left side of their balance, which, as you know, it means they are considered an asset, and every asset has to have its counterpart in liabilities or capital. In this case, for example, a liability is the money in circulation, and as you say, exports are good, but in order to, as also it says, to continue the exports, the bank try to control the money we have in circulation with that liability, so our currency is low and we can export a lot. That's the case in China. And they also have like 1 billion reserves. I don't remember the number. It's quite huge. But it is actually because of that, because the Chinese yuan is very weak. So as the Chinese, you can go out and have acquisition power. So I think that is also bad. And also all the opportunity cost. You are losing. We have $160 billion that we are not investing. We could be investing that in, I don't know, schools, infrastructure, in order to attract more foreign investments and things like that. And also, according to a study we made a use of Televisa, it's costing us since 2009 to 2012 about 2% of our PIB to have that resource. So I think that's bad.
There's a question.
I've always thought the Chinese were very bright. Why, if what you say is true, do the Chinese now have approximately 1/3 of the world's reserves and seem to be not upset if this keeps increasing? And why, if what you say is true, they invest about 30% of their gross domestic product right now. You say they're foregoing more investment by having high reserves? And you say they're inflationary if you have high reserves, since the yen remains possibly slightly undervalued against a lot of trading currencies. How has this, I mean, you said three things which I find hard to understand. One, that by having high reserves, the Chinese in particular may have foregone even further investment. One has a hard time understanding how you can invest over 1/3 of your gross domestic product. Two, they're growing by 10% a year. They've foregone further growth, And 3, it is potentially inflationary when, in fact, their inflation combined with their productivity is such that they're not having too much of a problem on their exchange rate, to put it politely.
Well, because what I mean is that with the investment, I say it is because I think that we don't invest too much. Our schools are very bad, and we could invest that in the schools. And according to the exchange rates, well, according to, I don't remember the source, but they saw
But
it.
you're talking about the Mexican situation.
Yeah, Mexican situation, yeah. The Chinese was an example about the exports.
So the Mexican situation, how you will explain it?
In the Mexican situation,
We have $163 billion in reserve right now, okay?
how do I explain why we have
The
the
question
reserves?
he's asking is, why would you think that if we keep increasing our reserves,
Uh-huh.
that really is creating a situation where you are not getting the amount of investment that you would require? I mean, how would that relate one to the other, okay?
Like, it is not that you are not getting the amount, but I think that we need a big amount. And I don't think, I mean, the reserves, I think that the biggest point to have the reserve is in order if you have a financial crisis to be able to get out quick, or if you need the money, you have it right there. But I don't think it's a good security, a good insurance. I believe that you could have a better insurance and you can invest, will have that money, put it in a long-term investment, which will give you more rentability instead of having it there not doing anything. Because also you have a credit of the World Bank about 70 billion, so you don't need that kind of money in your reserves to get out of a financial crisis. So I think that you could invest in another way. Even if you have been investing a lot of money, I think you can invest more.
What your proposal is, that we use the reserves to make investments.
Well, no, the reserves, I mean, you are not using it, that's why they are reserves, no, you are not using it. So I think that you could be using them. You don't need, I mean, my point is that the reserves, the main point to have reserves is to get out of a financial crisis and to have a credibility investment, so like your liabilities in the outside market are, you can pay them. You have the money to pay all the things in that, so it gives you your country a better credibility or interest rate. So I think that if you already have a big credit with the World Bank, you don't need that kind of money in order to be attractive or to get out of a financial crisis. I don't know.
By the way, the credit is with the IMF, okay? The World Bank is not going to be the amount of money, but the IMF has given the Mexican a facility, extended facility, about $75 billion. Which we thought we would never use, but we are paying for them.
Yeah.
We are paying
Yeah, that's
the
why
fee
that
for keeping this thing there. Are you ready for your presentation?
So just to finish, we think like a more balanced trade, like trying to equalize the trade, is gonna be the best option because we still export, but we don't. Well, our currency is like more not as fixed as we would want, so we can get more products from other countries with good quality and with a good price.
Okay. You are free traders, all of you guys, but you know, that's nice. Thank you very much.